Welcome to the official opening of the 2020 Athens Democracy Forum, which we are proud to convene in association with the New York Times, here in the city of Athens. Our theme this year is The New Abnormal, Reimagining Democracy. It reflects both the extraordinary and sometimes frightening times we are going through and the enormous challenges they pose on a broad range of fronts. The pandemic, created so precipitously and terribly by the coronavirus, has touched every corner of the globe and every human endeavor. But the new abnormal goes beyond that, to the broader scope, implicit in the Greek word pandemos, pandemic, which means all the people. The whole of humanity is being tested by inequality, climate change, fake news, migration shifts, and populism to find better ways to govern ourselves and safeguard our planet. We will now be virtually transported to the Presidential Palace of Athens and directly after that to New York, so we can hear from Jeffrey Sachs, the Director of the United Nations Sustainable Development Solutions Network. We are honored to have President Sakellaropoulou with us, with her distinguished record as a jurist deeply concerned with civil liberties, ecological issues, minority rights, and better governance, to launch this year's Athens Democracy Forum. Ladies and gentlemen, I present you the President of the Hellenic Republic.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, this year's Athens Democracy Forum represents a new abnormal in itself. It takes place under the extraordinary conditions of a global pandemic, necessitating it being held as a virtual event. This pandemic inevitably keeps us apart, but it also serves to remind us how much, in the face of a common threat that makes no distinction between countries or people, we are all connected and interdependent in our humanity. It reminds us of the beautiful words of Martin Luther King. We are all caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. This year's Athens Democracy Forum alerts us to the reality that democracy, one of humanity's noblest achievements, is not our inescapable destiny. Around the world, democracy today is being challenged, threatened, assaulted, undermined, overturned by a diverse array of enemies and foes. It is in this exact place, Athens, in another historical space, that democracy was born, initially as a system of direct self-governance. We are called a democracy, for the administration is in the hands of the many and not of the few. Pericles defined the American polity in the Epitafios, his immortal funeral oration. A polity built on the fundamental principle that the right to rule, kratos, lies with the people, demos. People's rights and people's participation are inextricably interconnected. If liberty and equality, as is thought by some, are chiefly to be found in democracy, they will be best attained when all persons alike share in government to the utmost, argued Aristotle in his Politics, back in the 4th century BC. Majority rule is the basic principle upon which democracy is founded. But there is, as you know, much more to it than that. Over the centuries, democracy advanced as a system of robust constitutional guarantees, protecting the rights of individuals and minorities from any abuse of power, even in the name of the majority. This is how our contemporary liberal democracies evolved, reaching their apex in the second half of the 20th century. They evolved by trial and error, heeding the appropriate lessons from the tragedies of totalitarianism genocide, and 2 world wars. In the Western liberal democracies, the pursuit of equal rights never ceased. The civil rights movement in the US, the feminist movement, the gay rights movement, all expanded rights to build societies of inclusiveness and equality. The environmental movement included the rights of future generations to live in a safe planet. Backed by rigorous science and political courage, it led to the historical Paris Agreement on climate change and seminal initiatives such as our European Green Deal. And the struggle for equal rights and equal representation continues, as the passing of one of its greatest defenders, Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, on September 18, served to remind us. A struggle that is constant and requires the advocacy of enlightened reason, the passion of argument, the mobilization of people, the audacity of leadership, and painstaking, patient work of judicial integrity and legislative reform that gradually extends rights and improves the lives of people. In RBG's words, real change, enduring change, happens one step at a time. But history does not move in a straight line. Change is not always synonymous to progress. And we're witnessing today in the world the rise of new, but so old, nationalist leaders claiming to represent the real people of the nation, but resenting those very constitutional norms and individual rights upon which liberal democracy is built. Some define themselves as illiberal democrats, but an illiberal democracy is a contradiction in terms. It cannot be a democracy if it does not respect the rights and freedoms of individuals. Democracy today is threatened by the rise of autocrats and strongmen who seek to deprive press of its freedom, the judiciary of its independence, the opposition of its rights, the rule of law of its universal application. Democracy is sapped by the language of demagoguery and the tactics of extreme political cynicism that erode public trust in democratic institutions. The erosion of trust in public institutions is one of the ways in which democracies die, as 2 American political scientists, Stephen Levitsky and Daniel Ziblatt, have reminded us. Democracy is undermined by fake news and the echo chambers of superstition, conspiracy theories and lies, bigotry and hatred. Democracy is emasculated by special interests and oligarchies seeking to hijack it, as much as by civil apathy and declining participation. But democracy is also undermined by extreme inequalities and poverty, weakened by economic stagnation and declining prosperity. A broad and thriving middle class has been celebrated as vital for the survival of liberal democracy all the way from Aristotle to Marx to contemporary social thinkers. Good governance, a system that delivers for the many, is a sine qua non for a robust, consolidated democracy. This year's Athens Democracy Forum invites us to reimagine democracy once again. Reimagine democracy as the eternally liberating project driven by reason, humanity, and science, operating upon rational institutions and factful public debate, as an empowering project of people wanting to live with dignity, to have control over their destiny, and a say on the course of their communities and their country. Because, as Albert Camus summed it up, at the end of the day, freedom is nothing but a chance to be better. Democracy is a continuing project of expanding civic participation and active, responsible citizens, because democracy and freedom come with the price of eternal vigilance. Democracy depends also on mutual toleration, tolerating dissent, talking to our opponents, peacefully resolving our differences through dialogue and negotiation. That's what democratic experience instructs us to do. That's what our great European Union has managed over the last 70 years, ensuring peace, prosperity, and unity in diversity. Democracy is finally a moral and ethical project. Kindness, decency, respect for others, respect for the rule of law, responsibility to community and country. That's what our civic patriotism is made of. These are the values that sustain our democracy. These are the values that will allow it to prevail against its enemies as long as we engage, strive, participate, educate, as long as we don't take our precious democracy for granted. I am happy to welcome you all to the Athens Democracy Forum 2020, and I wish you every success in your discussions.